Hello everyone, Kenty Tiger here with Bengali Engineering and Play. We are back in Space Engineers. I'm somehow topping out my microphone, so sorry if I'm screaming in your ears. So we're back in Space Engineers. We are still working on the modular utility vessel. This is the kind of the V2, which is really just to say it's a vanilla-ized version. So the only thing required for this one, beyond vanilla, is the one scaffolding mod, which I've linked. So I have linked a lot of the stuff in, and sorry about that. Linked a lot of the stuff in and put it up on the Steam Workshop. So for those of you interested in downloading and playing with this yourself, feel free to use, plagiarize, have a good time. So what I wanted to do was I'm gonna focus on I think I'm gonna focus on production. I always love to play with production and making interesting things work. So we're gonna take the large frame module here. I'm going to go ahead and orient it with the ship. Boop. Turn it sideways, turn it sideways. Yeah, this is front. So this is the large frame module. I mocked this up off screen. So let me give you a couple updates. So what I did, so the tractor I think is as finished as it can be. So the remote control is in. I did the configurations of the toolbars on both the remote control as well as the main flight seat. So everything seems to be working. The other thing I did for this, and kind of a little silly, I guess, if you consider airlocks and all, but I put a standard door in here, the sliding door. There's only one side, so when you open it, it vents to space, but oh well. There's plenty of oxygen left to refill the space. It's a small space. So not ideal, but there's not really room in this particular cockpit for a full airlock. So one of the downsides to this particular design, ideally, would be that whole cockpit is a bit forward from where it is now, and I may come back and do a revision of it. So anyway, was talking about production, and I tend to have a lot of fun with production. So here's my thoughts. We have a refinery that we can use, and what I was thinking is 4 refineries really down the outside. So let me go ahead and so we have a speed module and a yield module, and I tend to not even worry about the power efficiency modules. Yes, they make things better, but do you want to sacrifice yield or efficiency for the sake of power? We can always put more power in. So we have large cargo container. Let me see, we don't need this. We could probably consider small reactors, cameras not really needed, and remote control. So let me put the battery way over there in that slot. We'll grab this, put that over there. Okay, so we have a yield module, an efficiency module. Are there 2 modules? Speed module, yield module. So yield module was what replaced the efficiency module. Or sorry. No, I can't even remember what it was called. Anyway, assembler and refinery. Trying to think of what else we need. What else do we need? I have large cargo container. I don't know if we want to do small cargo containers or whether or not ultimately we want to use another cargo container. Don't know. So here were my thoughts. We tip this thing over sideways and then we put it over here. Why do I put it out extending that far? This module is inside, it's 9 by 9, but it's actually 11 by 11. So it's actually one block more than the 11. So what I was thinking was so here's what it would look like with them inside, and here's what it looks like outside. So I'm just more thinking about room. So the more production that we can actually put in here, the better. So why not? So the other side of this equation, if we really kind of look around, is if I put them here, then I link right straight into that particular module, or that particular that junction right there. But I don't really mind having them out like this. Here's also what I want to do. Okay. So 4 refineries, which I think is a pretty good deal. So refineries are 2 by 2 by 4, and if you put the modules on them, then it's really a 2 by 3 by 4. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to grab 4. So this is that turned around the correct way. There and there. So 0, 8. Yield modules. Speed modules are all fine and dandy, but the yield modules, the nice thing about the yield modules is you end up with more usable ingots per ore. Not any faster, but I think it's really nice to end up with more yield, more bang for the buck. All right, so there's those 2 guys. What I think I'm going to do now, this small cargo container. Small cargo containers, not terribly useful because they're not very large. But here's what I'm going to do is swap out a lot of these conveyors for storage. Oops. Bang into the ship. So why am I doing that? Mostly for efficiency. This obviously anything that is going to do production kinds of things really is gonna need storage. I don't think there's any ways around that. I think at the same time we will replace all of these with I won't do that just yet, but we will do these. Alright, so I suppose if I'm being consistent, then I should go through and relabel all of those cargo containers. On the flip side, is there really any point to doing that? Cargo containers are used as they're used, so I don't know that there's really any purpose for it. Other than I just like to have everything really organized. I like knowing that, okay, this is this one, this is this one. But in the end, I don't know that that really matters very much. All right. So the next quandary here is how do we set up the assemblers? I think I am going to do, okay, assemblers, speed module. Because the assemblers are all about speed. So I'm going to focus on this end. This is going to go here, whoops, here. We'll just cruise right across here. So I think we're going to be able to get now, theoretically, if I really wanted to be creative, I could do 5 down this row. The question is, how crazy do we want to be? So here's the trick. Assemblers will do cooperative mode as long as they are stacked end to end. They have to be connected to one another. And in my experience, even those side ports are not connected to one another. It has to be end to end. And the advantage to end is then you can put 4 upgrade modules around the outside of it. So not too bad. Pretty cool. If I have 2 stacks of 4, which is what this is kind of gearing up for, is I think that would be pretty good. I think we would be able to do most anything that we might want to do. All right, I'm going to blow a hole here because that's ultimately going to be the way in and out for things. All right. Oh darn! I screwed up. Unfortunately, is there a way around this? So, given where all these things are, I will only be able to put 3 speed modules on each one. Yeah, because I can't go above this line. This is where the ship is. So if I drop down, then I'm only going to get 1 row of assemblers, which I don't know that I really want. Because we now share this center row, so unless I use like a double-sided something or other, either way I'm missing 1. Although that would be, you know, 1 that is missing. Well, that may not be a bad idea. That basically I have 1 row of assemblers that is missing a side, and then 1 row that is not. So 1 row that has all 4, and then the other row has 3. Alright. I'm game. So, here's what I'm going to do. Seems a little silly, I know. And a little foolhardy, in fact, because having cargo containers on the ground may not be the best thing. Alright, we're going to put, I was originally going to put, I was going to take out the scaffolding and put in cargo containers. I'm not going to do that. What I am going to do, though, is swap out all of these for cargo containers. They are going to serve as connectors, you know, conveyor, as well as getting materials in and out. Here's the other thing. Pardon me. Putting a row of these guys right in here. Seems a bit wasteful, but in fact is part of the proverbial plan, because I don't really want to have, oops, that was not what I wanted. I wanted that one. So what I do not want to have happen is wasted space. I don't want to waste any space. Okay, so 2, which are my speed modules, let me go ahead and get those put back to where I wanted them. Here's a problem. Well, we'll have to deal with that. So what I'm going to have to do is move the reactors, which was not unanticipated. And the reason why is I have to have a way to get the conveyor hooked in. Not going to be able to do anything at this end because that is okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Nine. Okay, one of the things that is going to become exceedingly important is batteries, and the reason I say batteries is because when these things light off and do what they do, sometimes they take a pretty high surge current. So what we're going to do is put batteries in. So there's battery. I should have put these in originally. Battery. We will end up with another row on top. Battery. And we will put reactors. So a couple questions is, does this module need gyros? I was thinking for stability purposes it would be really good to have gyros. On the other side, this is a production module. It's going to be really designed to be set down on the ground and then left there. So does it need any stabilizing mechanism at all? And I think the answer is no. So I'm going to destroy that battery. I'm going to put a reactor there. And I'm going to spin these so they actually connect in and put reactors there. So there are 4 reactors at that end, and then at the same time we will put 2 reactors at this end. So we will have a total of 6 reactors online. Then the question is, do we put them in or do we put them out? I think we'll put them out. Okay, so that reactor can stay right where it is. This reactor and this battery become a problem. Actually, I take that back. The reactor is not a problem. It's just oriented incorrectly. But that's a problem. This is a parachute thing. So ideally would be to have the parachute mechanism out here on the outer edge. The other question is this, given the relative weight of this thing, is this going to be good or bad? I think this is going to be bad. So, inventory. Reactors. I think it's small aft that I am really concerned about. Inventory. Alright, so info. It's not as much as I was expecting it to be. Or, yeah, not as much as I was expecting it to be. I was expecting it to be quite a bit more, actually. Okay, so this is, production module. Refinery 1, 2, 3, and 4, and refineries. Do we need that on the toolbar config? Probably not. So we'll take those out. Batteries, we'll continue to put those into their toolbar off. Batteries, and this is now production module. Save. So batteries. I don't know that there would be refineries anywhere else, but okay. Production module. Save. So here we go. Connectors. Okay, remove that one. Batteries, parachutes. I think in the interim, actually the parachutes are going to disappear for just a moment. Oh darn, that was a battery. What I wanted to do, turn that off and that. I did get a little sidetracked here. Okay, so I'm going to turn that one off and not use the conveyor system. Inventory. I want to move that somewhere and that somewhere. I don't know why there's uranium in there, but so be it. Okay, and the reason to get rid of this one is what I need to do here is, if there's not going to be a parachute up above, which I don't think there is, so the assembler, this row of assemblers is going to be right here. This row of assemblers is going to be right here. So I need a way to get the conveyor system connected into them. Okay, so so clearly this guy has to be in a different orientation. So the question is, do I just turn a reactor sideways, or do I figure out how to plumb everything in? Because I've got the refineries are plumbed in via the center, but that doesn't mean that I can't plumb them in on the outside. In fact, I would really like to put quad parachutes on this thing, so you could technically use it for a drop type environment. Probably not necessarily be a good idea, because I think it would be heavy enough to be a disaster, but we can test that. So the question is what to do here. Do we put a reactor here? What's more valuable to us? More cargo container, which then I can use as effectively a junction, or do I turn the reactors sideways, which will then connect them in? So I think that was supposed to be a 8, not an F8. Alright, so bang, the battery goes away, and we go like this. Okay, so that's my connection point for this end, which then gives me power. So lots and lots of power. Alright, 2. We're going to turn off that just so I can see. Port side, I'm going to just go ahead and say port side is where that's going to be. Here, here, and here. And batteries are going to be battery, 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 battery. So the question is, do we put batteries in here, or do we put something else in here? Battery, battery. Alright, assemblers. Assemblers, number 4. Assembler. Assemblers. All right. And finally, we have the last layer of speed modules, which I can stack and then do one of these numbers. Bink. All right. So now we have one set that has all 4 and one set that has 3. Okay, we have the choice of power or batteries. What do we want on this end? Personally, I don't think there can be any such thing as too much power. The problem is how to appropriately utilize the amount of power that we have. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 small reactors. If those are indeed 15 megawatts each, then we have a total of 120 megawatts of power, which may be enough. Obviously, I don't have uranium in all these, so that's certainly something to consider. So then it is a matter of storage. So perhaps we do one more reactor here. Do I put 4 storage in here? 7. One, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so I don't know if this is entirely ideal or not, but alright, so 6, 7. I'm still under the firm belief that there is just no such thing as enough storage, because we're actually using small containers. All right. And we do container. I think so. We'll do the same thing over here, and the advantage to this is now this is all intermeshed in, so everything is integrated on both ends. Parachute. Parachute hatch. Put this there. And so we kind of are changing how we do things, and we're putting 4 parachute hatches on this particular thing because I think it is heavy enough that it's going to need it if we were to really get down to brass tacks. Alright, so we have a shit ton of storage. There is absolutely not a single amount of space in here that isn't production related in some way. Alright, so 120. So what I do not know. Okay, I'm cheating. I admit it. Alt F10. Canvas. I'm going to do 100 canvas. First thing I'm going to do is get organized. So we have claimed everything as our own, which is good. Assemblers. Assembler 1 through 8. Batteries. There's a whole shit ton of batteries. So let's get the batteries put into the battery assemblers. Save. We do not need those on the toolbar, and we do not need those on the terminal. Small containers. I think so. There's quite a few small containers there, huh? Nearly 100 of them. Containers. Small. Production. Do not need them on the toolbar, do not need them on the terminal. All right. Alright, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we've got 10 small reactors here. Renumbering. Don't know how I did that one. Alright, parachute. Call that parachutes. Production level. Save. Off and off. The only thing we have now is reactors production module. Whoa. See, all these are totally maxed out because need to say small? Probably not. Containers, small production. Get rid of that one. I guess if I want to be consistent here, but there's not going to be too many things with those. Okay, reactors. Off and off. All right. Oops. Inventory. Parachute. Parachute hatch. I don't know if that means you can drop it 3 times or if that's just don't know. I'm gonna load it to max. I'm good with that. Okay. So all of the batteries are working towards gearing up to the top, which is really to say they are how does this? Is that a battery? So what I was actually thinking is, how do I make this thing stackable? You know, stack it on top of something else. The only way to do that would be to potentially sacrifice a battery. So let's have a look. 7. Kill this, kill this. So we have this one, we have a battery here that we can replace with that. Alright. And then we put a connector here. Yeah, I don't see a downside. Connectors, show. Not so simple. Oh, yeah, simple. Simple, yes. Because that one goes back in. So that's my connector. Which is to say my connection point. Alright. Okay, so it lost 2 batteries, which is not a big deal. Prod, but not the cattle type. Port lower starboard. So 5. This was the aft. Prod. Module lower. Oops. Let's not use an underscore. Deck. did it again. Aft prod module lower. Oh, that was the forward one. How about forward? So aft prod module upper. Prod module upper. Alright, so connectors, production module upper. Save. Module lower. Save. And those do not need to be on the screen. Those can go off. Upper can go off. Cargo containers. Containers. Go there. Toolbar and off. So these miscellaneous connectors here. This center lower, center lower. All right, so technically we could stack this guy onto a large module, like a large cargo module, and actually do some really serious stuff. Alright, we're gonna do, I think, a little bit of cheating. I didn't want that. So, off. My elsewhere container. Okay, and here's how we're going to cheat. So, for those of you who are not familiar with Midspace's admin helper commands, it is a mod, just like anything else, but it runs some kind of a script in the background, and it gives you a lot of really interesting commands. So here's one of these commands: inventory insert uranium ingot, and then I'm going to tell uranium ingot, and then you tell it how many. So I'm going to do a really silly number here of 10 million. Unknown item could not find the specified name. Let's try that again. Uranium. R-A-N-I-U-M, uranium ingot. Did I totally spell that wrong? Bing, there it is. Alright, then we look in the container. Oh, so when you type that command, you just need to be pointing your reticle at something, preferably something that will actually hold what you just told it to hold. So in this case, this is we're going to do an inventory, and you can see there's a whole boatload in there, all 10 million of those. I'm now connected onto that one. We're going to do a reactor. And ultimately, I want to fill up all of these reactors. So I don't know where these guys were getting their uranium from. There was some stored in the connector. Alright, so all the reactors are full. I'm going to leave that there for right now. The reason why is I want to, it's hard to see where the batteries are, but it looks like, actually it looks like the batteries are charged. Right, sorry, phone ringing there. Okay, so at this moment, it looks like all of our reactors are full. It also looks like all the batteries are charged, which is a good thing. So, having said that, we can break this thing off and do a Control X, and that's out of here. Okay, so production module. The only other thing that I really kind of want to do is put plating on the side of this. And number 7, number 1, and steel catwalk plate. And that's just kind of protection, and it makes it look a little better. This looks pretty messy. So, do the same thing over here. And then delete that one. Alright, so that's pretty much a production module. We have 4, couldn't tell you how many batteries. Actually, let's look at the the info tab. I think there was actually, okay. It's all me. Nope, doesn't really say. Triangles, grid mass, pretty heavy, no question there. Production. Of course, there is there's no inventory, so there is no anything there. Well, no inventory short of uranium. So there was still uranium. Oops, you know what I did not do? I should have put a couple of Hmm. Why am I pasting this back in? Because that has my uranium in it. So inventory, I want to find really any container. It doesn't even matter which one. And fill a couple of containers with put some in 5 and put some in 6. Okay, so there's 4 containers with uranium in it, which should be just fine. And no other anythings in there. Okay, so 2, bing, X, that off. All right, so this is now the large grid production module, which as a bonus can actually stack, which is kind of cool, I think. The question is, do we want to do something in here, or do we leave those as they are, or do we extend it out one more? Let's have a look-see. Let me check something. I think both of these side connectors are, yeah, so I didn't group those into anything. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to change how this thing looks just a little bit. Let me go to 6. All right. Seven. Now what I don't know is, do I want to put more cargo there? Cargo containers? You know, what do I want to do here? Is there really any need to put more cargo containers, or do I do something like this and put the connector there? Might be more productive for things like if I'm bringing in and out cargo from like a mining craft, so I'm not right smack on the ground. It might be better. So maybe I should consider doing that instead. So number 4, number 3, and it doesn't really matter the orientation of this, so I guess I'm going to do it upright. So this is is connector 7. Center starboard. Don't really need to say lower, do I? Center starboard. Oops. Oops. Alright, I totally screwed that one. Alright, so theoretically, if I had a vehicle that sat up that high, it's one off the ground, would be able to touch onto that. So maybe that's a practical consideration. Alright, so this little beastie I think is done. So that is the production module, yes. Again, I think because of the weight, I'm not sure if this would be appropriate for drop, but it can drop. So here's what I think the last change I will make here is, auto deploy. The problem with auto deploy is if I am actually landing, then auto deploy would go off, which might be a problem. So maybe I should leave those off. And do I want to put passenger seats onto this? Would actually be kind of amusing, I think. Gee. There's the passenger seat. Let's go into 8. We don't need large. Click, 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 click. Get rid of all this stuff. 1. Wow. No way to put a passenger seat. I was thinking I could put those on the side there, and I guess that's not the case. Alright. Let me have a look-see here. So, this is the 3. So, out here on the edge, we could put seats out here. I wonder if anybody would even notice what those were. So the question is, so I'm flying around and beep. Okay. Wow, you can actually charge. If I punch K, It does actually let me. Okay, this would be good. So passenger seat one. Seats production module. Seats. So the good news here is if I am dropped with this thing, I can literally go click and deploy. So I can be in control of this thing just by going into K. So this is good. All right. Not a bad thing. So no auto deploy, and everything else I think is set up. Can't think of anything else. Alright, so the production module, Control B, should come up with, hey, production module. There it is. Alright. Well, thank you all for joining me. This is Kenty Tiger. I'm signing off, and my apologies for going over that hour mark. And we will catch you next time.